So, Hungry Chops, what are we chatting about today?
We are discussing how our pregnancy journey has gone so far.
This episode is called NHS Stress. Right, well, welcome back to the Blanket Fort for episode something or other of Don't Wake the Baby. This is the show where we chat all about kids, just in real life. We don't really have anything else to talk about.
Oh, we don't really. all our interests are faded and gone.
So, as we do with other parents, we meet up and chat about our children and what's going on in our lives.
Honestly, it's why we struggle to talk to people without kids, and it's not their fault. We're just too uninteresting now. We're like, we've got nothing in common. We don't go out. We go out to a child-friendly venue.
So we're having our usual conversation with the microphones, so you can join in with us and follow along with our story and journey. I'm Elliot. I'm your host with a script, and with me, as always, is my wife Emma, your host who's improvising.
I never have a script.
We like to share a little factoid near the beginning. What's your favourite genre of music, Emma?
Probably soft rock. Most millennials, we have grown up with Green Day and Nickelback, and I know some people might not call them soft rock. Whereas you are slightly, as he's mentioned previously, younger than me. I don't, and you didn't listen to music growing up, really.
I have a bit of an odd relationship with music. Like, my parents aren't really that into it. It took a long time before I was exposed to any sort of music. So, I mean, you would describe my music taste as just sad songs.
Sad songs, yeah.
I would say I'm into kind of acoustic, indie, chilled, alternative music.
Yeah. But all that's sad. None of it's happy.
Not lively.
No.
Just, nice and emotional, heart-wrenching, kind of soul-crushing.
Yeah, it's very pleasant.
Yeah, lovely. It's got so much nostalgia for me. Ooh, ding, 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 bong. It's parenting achievement time. What level parenting thing have you unlocked this week? It's our segment of the show where we share funny stories or just relatable things that are going on with our toddler.
Yep. This last weekend, me and my sister Kirsty went down to London to go see Spirited Away. If people don't know what that is, it's a Studio Ghibli anime that's been made into a play. At the Coliseum, it was very good. Could highly recommend.
So that was on Sunday.
Yep.
You went down just for the day and back?
Because we didn't want to stay overnight because, we've got kids.
Yeah.
People have work.
I mean, so I was left on childcare duty. That's a bad expression. I really hate it when people say that. I was solo parenting.
You were left in charge,
as dad with the kids. It's not childcare because, I'm
one
a
of
dad.
One of them wasn't yours, but
yes,
one of them was.
Yes, but it's still parenting. And so I had the fun and games of trying to keep a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old entertained all day, which, went pretty successfully, really.
We were very impressed. He got them both to bed in fairly good time.
I thought that would be the best part of the story to tell, would be the bedtime, where I had that moment where I was like, how am I going to put 2 kids to bed, both of which want their mums?
Yeah.
They don't want me.
No.
And I've got to get them both to sleep. And I was like, this is when I really feel for single parents, because I was like, how... Until I got to the moment, I hadn't really considered... I can't be in the 2 different bedrooms with them at the same time. So do we stagger it? And how does that work? So I took them both upstairs to put Sophie down to sleep first, thinking as the younger one, Lily could sit with us and I could look after her. But that didn't work at all.
Nope.
Sophie's very playful at bedtime and is not the easiest to go to sleep. Not her fault, but, just...
And I think you made the naive thing where you thought younger children go to sleep easier.
Yeah.
In fact, I think it's the opposite.
Then we went back downstairs. I suppose this doesn't make much sense, does it? We've got a bedroom on the top floor.
Yeah,
and a
so
bedroom
there's
on the
like
middle
3
floor.
levels to the house, basically.
Yeah. And so they weren't disturbing each other in the night. They were in different rooms.
Yes.
So we went to Lily's bedroom and I was trying to get her to sleep. So I ended up in this peculiar situation. Lily has a floor bed and she wanted me as she often does, to lie beside her and sleep with her as she goes to sleep. So I ended up in this very peculiar situation where I was lying kind of crookedly, half on, half off the bed, with Sophie kind of between my legs, kind of trying to hold her up and comfort her there with, I was holding in my hand one mobile phone, which was playing Thomas the Tank Engine.
For Sophie, yeah.
And she was sat there quite happily thinking that I was
watching it with her,
just there for her, watching Tom. And then my top half of my body on the bed, trying to huggle Lily, so I had my arm round her, and she was laid on me, holding another phone that was playing Little Bear on YouTube.
Yeah.
And she thought I was there. So I was like, this is so uncomfortable. But
You're
it
like
worked.
an octopus.
Yeah. I was sat there thinking, like, what have I got myself into?
Well, I remember we were on the train on the way back, and Kirsty and we were discussing, like, do we think you'll get them to bed? But Kirsty was very impressed because none of the grandparents have ever got her to sleep successfully. The only other person who has was me when she came over last time. Yeah. So we were teasing him then, saying it's rather dangerous. We realised we can leave him with both children, and he can survive, and the children are fine. So really, you've done too good a job.
I know.
Because we can go away again now. And
then, though, the problem was you came back.
Yeah.
And on the Monday, Lily was in a mood with you.
And I said to Elliot, I said, she's going to be in a bad mood tomorrow. The morning, she was fine. But that night time,
yeah,
she was putting me through it.
You were in the bad books.
I was in the bad books.
To be fair, she was just... Yeah, it wasn't like she was happy with me.
No.
I think the stress of you being away for a day.
Yeah.
She'd used up all her patience, I think is how we often describe it. Yeah. I think she'd been so good with me the previous day, helping look after Sophie and being patient all day, even though she couldn't have my full attention, and coping with being sad that you were away.
Yeah.
And then Monday, she was just like, that's it. I've crossed a threshold.
We always describe it, it's like a currency, patience and good behaviour. You can only spend so much of it, and then you're out.
Yeah. And we were asking some of our podcast listeners, do they have this experience? And some did. Your sister Becky in France was saying she gets the silent treatment.
Yeah.
I mean,
that would be preferable.
Yeah, we don't get that. We had like a full-on meltdown at bedtime.
And I can honestly say, because she's not one, she does have tantrums, but not to that extent.
Yeah.
Because I was putting in the group, it's probably been over 6 months to a year since she's had such a bad tantrum like that.
Yeah, it took us back to the days where we went through, if you're a long-time listener, our naked phase, where she refused to wear any clothes.
Yeah.
And it was very similar to that, where she was just in a rage.
Yeah,
and
about anything.
Yeah, and I had to basically restrain her because,
but
there we go. There's our kind of parenting fail thing for this week. I mean, some of it was a success, but within it, there were moments that went downhill, and we were sat there going, "What have we done?
Luckily, we were both quite patient because she hasn't had such a bad tantrum in such a long time. We both found it quite funny.
Yeah,
we kept both looking at each other laughing, like, what are we gonna do?
Sometimes in the moment you have to, don't you? I feel like that's the ethos of our podcast here. It's just laughing in the face of adversity.
Yeah.
There we go. We'd love to hear your stories. Is this a relatable experience? Do you have a parenting fail this week? What achievement have you unlocked? Write into the podcast or whatever. I don't know what you do. Like, send us a message.
Write in. It sounds like they're going to send us a letter.
I know. I mean, you don't know our address, but you can try and do that if you like. Keep singing those nursery rhymes to your baby, and let's jump into our conversation that's coming to you in your little ears today. So this is a bit of an unusual one for us in the sense that we often discuss topics looking back retrospectively and doing things that have passed. And this is a strange one where it's a bit of a live topic for us. It's what we're going through right now. And we're going to chat about it and give you an update on where we are. We're basically going to only cover the first half of pregnancy.
Yeah.
Because so much happened in that period that as we were going through it, we thought that this has got to be a podcast episode.
Yeah, true.
It does mean that you want to be a little coy about some stuff because we're a little nervous. Like, it is a live topic that we're discussing, and that,
basically, I don't want to, what do you call it? Count your eggs before they've hatched?
Yeah, jinx it.
Yeah. If people don't know, I'm also quite superstitious. Elliot can tell people about this.
I find it quite funny, really,
It's
because
quite funny.
I'm very not superstitious.
No. Well, you wouldn't think I would be, but I'm very practical in most things. So this is completely a side topic. If we buy new baby clothes, I don't like to touch them till the baby's born. But it's weird. Old baby clothes that are Lily's old ones, I have no problem with, because I feel like, well, we bought them for Lily, so it doesn't matter. It's a weird sense of logic.
Yeah. So yeah, and also possibly, I think maybe it's good to say up front like a trigger warning. We might be discussing or touching on some things that are possibly sensitive to people if you've had complications in pregnancy.
Yeah, true.
And so just to be aware of that as we go into this conversation. We'll come on to the kind of chronological journey in a second, but I think we'll approach this kind of thing slightly differently maybe, and start with how are you finding it, Emma? Do you have any initial thoughts on what it's like this time round?
I would say it's much harder than last time, but also it's gone much quicker. And at the point we are now, I'm quite relaxed.
Again, it's why we're doing it now. I think you're in that period of pregnancy where you're coping best.
Yes, yeah.
I think it may go downhill again.
Yeah, now we're in the final stretch. I remember last time it going downhill pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Not in that we had terrible problems, we did have some problems, but it was more
difficult to cope with.
You just get bigger and bigger, and it gets harder to sleep and just do things. So yes.
But what about like changes with your body and anything
definitely.
like that? Like how
I'm
are
definitely
you finding it?
bigger this time, right? Not necessarily bump wise, but I've definitely just put on more weight altogether.
Yeah, I think your bump's bigger. Definitely, you showed quicker.
Yeah, I showed a lot quicker.
I think that's a very common thing, isn't it, with second pregnancies?
And also, I don't know, maybe you can tell me if you've had a C-section. I feel like most of my muscles down there are gone.
Yeah,
I think it showed pretty quick.
I've heard other mums say that as well, yeah.
So, yeah, there was very hard to hide this time round. A, we're not in a lockdown. But B, I was showing pretty quickly. But I'd say, overall, I think I'm feeling positive at the minute. Yeah. Cool. I think at the minute, I'm pretty happy. I'm not in terrible pain with my back or anything yet.
Yeah.
I did have back pain earlier on, but now I've just tried looking after myself a bit better. And it turns out if you try not to do as many bendy things, your back generally does a lot better.
Okay then. Well, shall we jump back to the start of the conversation?
Yes. I've just said I'm feeling a lot better, but I'm getting a bit uncomfortable, so I'm just going to move around in my little seat. There we go, that's better.
So let's jump back to the start of the kind of story.
Yeah.
And go from being positive now back into some of the darker moments.
Of the stress.
Yeah. If you're interested, I think, the beginning of the story we've basically covered in our episode about preparing for our second baby.
Yeah.
That episode's called Second Time Parents. And we chatted about in that episode about our decision about getting pregnant and things like that. So we've covered a little bit there about some of the challenges and complications in that sense. But then once you were pregnant, I suppose initially I've got notes down here that your kind of morning sickness came on very quickly this time.
Very quickly, yeah.
And you kind of had very similar aversions and things.
Yeah, this is when it was kind of copy and paste. I had the same... And most people say they've not had the same aversions in both pregnancies. But then the people I've talked to normally have had two different genders.
Right.
So I wonder if people have had the same gender, did you have similar symptoms?
Yeah.
So my thing, once again, I always go off milk.
Yeah.
Sausages.
Yeah.
Bacon. Was there anything else? Cheese I didn't really like either.
Yeah.
They're all the ones I have at the start that I can't really eat.
Yeah.
Oh, interestingly, I still can't eat sausages at this point.
You were far more laid back this time.
Yes, yeah.
I think is often a common thing that happens, isn't it? You've kind of been through it once before, so some of your kind of rule following about food eating and stuff, you're a bit more relaxed about.
Like last time I refused to have takeaways.
Yeah. Basically any cooked
any
meat.
Outside food that I hadn't cooked, I wouldn't have.
Yeah,
I've been a lot more laid back about it this time.
Not been worried about that at all.
Probably why I've put on more weight,
Yes. And that's where my nickname for you has emerged from. If you don't know, first time round, we've done an episode in the past on the first time pregnancy. And last time you had the nickname Big Belly Beast.
Big Belly Beast. He's lovely with his name.
I'm a typical dad, aren't I? I come up with like rather insulting names.
He's lucky I'm the kind of person I am. I didn't mind.
This time round, your nickname has been Hungry Chops.
Yeah, I've been constantly starving.
As per the start of this episode.
Yeah.
You've been eating a ton. Yeah, like.
There was one point last week. I say last week, could have been 2 weeks ago. It's like 9 o'clock at night, and I was like, you know what? I'm still starving, so I had to go down and make myself a toasty. Yeah. So I was sat in bed eating like a cheese toasty at like 10 o'clock at night or something.
Despite being more relaxed, you've also been, I think, more worried about the baby in the sense that I think. We went very early and went and had a private scan in Leeds.
We did.
A place that specialised in doing very early baby scans. Before we were able to have an NHS scan. Yeah. There was no reason for it.
There's no
other
reason.
Than you wanted to be reassured that the baby was there.
I just want to. The problem is, I think when you've got another child, I wanted to be very on it, knowing what was happening before. And we didn't tell Lily for a long time because she's a blabbermouth. But I wanted kind of to know where we were standing before even thinking about how do we tell her and when do we tell her. And I think also you just see so much online about people having early losses. It makes you kind of paranoid. So, yeah, I was like, I literally just said, I'm paying for an early scan. It wasn't a discussion. I was like, this is what we're doing. Yeah. I found a place.
I didn't really agree with it.
No.
I thought it was a waste of money.
Yep.
I think it's gone to your head a bit after last time we had so much success having a private scan, and you realised how
nice they are as well.
And we could afford it.
And we're better off now than we were then. This point, once you've lived the high life, I like a private scan.
Yeah. I'd really hold her back from getting a private scan.
If I could, I'd have one every month.
I was going to say once a month. Yeah. Deary dear. A few other little bits early on before we get into some of the bigger stories. Lily actually kind of early on was eating a lot better now that you could have glutinous food. Yeah. So you could have the same meals, and that really helped us with getting Lily to
eat stuff because she's like, Mummy.
Yeah.
And at the minute, she loves saying we're both hungry monkeys. Because she's been in our past 2 weeks, she goes on and off, but she's been in a really
growth
spurt phase. So me and her just sit and we just love eating hummus with breadsticks. And she goes, Mummy, are you a hungry monkey? I'm a hungry monkey. I'm like, yeah, I'm a hungry monkey too. What should we have? So we've been having a lovely time together.
And she's been copying you. So she was going around with a fake cough and going around pretending to be sick.
Yeah. This one I really thought people were going to know quickly.
It's been really hard to hide it this time. Yeah. I mean, last time it was during lockdown and COVID, and we really liked that we could hide it from the world.
Yeah.
And this time that's not really been possible.
I remember somebody at nursery, we weren't that far along, was like, are you expecting? And I was like, yeah, we are. We're trying not to make it too public. Yeah, and they were really nice about it. They're like, oh yeah, we just wondered why she was pretending to throw up all the time. And then they kind of put together,
yeah. Or didn't she also go around and put a cushion under her top?
She was putting a jumper under her top to be a bump.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was showing a lot of things that showed that maybe someone was pregnant at home.
Yeah. I suppose to some extent people might think that this episode is all about you, but as a couple and as a parenting couple, we do go through this experience together, and we try and share a lot of stuff. And I know a lot of mums often say it's harder the second time round because you have often a toddler you've got to look after as well, and you can't get as much naps and stuff.
Yep.
I mean,
I've still been having naps.
Just falls on me.
Yeah.
So I've picked up the slack, and Emma's. I don't know that it's a lot different to her first pregnancy.
I think the only difference is you have a demanding child that comes and wakes you up.
Yeah. Well, no, I get to a point where I can't. I've had enough now, and I tell Lily, go and wake Mummy up. She's had 3 hours nap.
Yeah. Recently, though, doing very well. I haven't had hardly any naps.
True, you're doing better.
But yeah.
I would say...
I've still had naps.
Yeah.
I think, and because she's at nursery more now, it hasn't been too bad, really.
Well, this is the thing, though. This is what's been really challenging. The first couple of months that you were pregnant was a real challenge for us. And for me, it was massively challenging because I was picking up the slack in the house.
Because I couldn't really go in the kitchen.
I would do all the cooking again, and I always do all the washing and stuff.
He's
but
chief washing person.
I would now, like, you go to bed early, so I would do both, like,
bedtime
and
cleaning, which is normally one of us does bedtime, one of us does clean up.
So that made me more tired anyway, and I know you're tired as well. I'm not taking away from that, but
no, it's okay.
it did coincide though with our nanny who's changed jobs and so has left us, unfortunately. And so we were a day of childcare down.
We were.
So Lily was only in nursery 2 days a week.
Yep.
Your dad had gone to help one of your sisters move house.
So that was another day gone.
And now he's gone to France to help Becky with a new baby. So we were down to basically I was doing childcare three days a week, trying to fit full-time work in around that. You were napping and tired, and so it was just it was hard. I did not like that. Eventually we got Lily in another day of nursery,
and hopefully from September she'll be in another day as well, so
so we've kind of slowly got back on. So I was struggling with work. Like, I was staying up till past midnight every night trying to catch up with work.
Yeah.
And then was up early with Lily and doing childcare. And
and then I felt like we weren't even spending any time together.
No, I've barely seen you. Because later on in pregnancy, you've got bigger, you've got all your pillows. I've left, so I'm sleeping in a different room.
Sleeping in the top room.
So
I've got too many pillows going on.
We don't sleep in the same bed anymore. So like, barely see you anymore. That's why it's good to have these podcast conversations.
I've tried to make a point, and I've always given you a kiss goodnight now, because I felt like that would be nice and affectionate.
Sweet.
I know. Well, I was like, I just keep going, right, I'll see ya.
I'm like, Mama's off for a sleep again.
Off for a nap.
You just basically, our entire lives, Mama's either sleeping or on the toilet.
Yeah. It's if Lily doesn't know where I am, she always goes, Mummy, you on the toilet again? And I'm like, yeah, I am. She doesn't seem to understand. She was trying to explain to me. She went, why are you always on the toilet? I was like, well, Mummy has to do a wee a lot more. And she went, is it because the baby wees in you? I went, yeah. It's kind of basically what's happening. But I mean, that doesn't actually come out of me. But she found it very funny.
I know it's difficult. I work from home, and
not most men just couldn't be there.
If you're not in the house, then it's very difficult. But like, I do think a lot of men, I would encourage them and say you do need to pick up more of the slack. Like, I do not think it's fair that so much falls on women.
If people get very sick like I do early on, it makes it very hard to just go in the kitchen. Yeah. Like, if I came in the kitchen, he'd hear someone go like, and he'd be like, get out the kitchen. I'm like, I'm sorry, I was just getting it. Yeah. Because even like, if people know like coat hangers are in the kitchen, so you want to get a coat, and you need to get in the kitchen. So I feel like I was lingering by the kitchen door being like, could you just, while you're in there, could you just get this thing from the kitchen, please? Enough of sickness.
Yeah, enough. Men, do better.
Yeah. Or women, don't let them get away with doing nothing. Yeah. My midwives always love me. They're always like, so who does that? I'm like, well, my husband does that. Yeah. Why would I be putting myself at risk at this point?
Yeah. Like you as soon as you were pregnant, you stopped carrying Lily.
Yeah.
So
I'm not carrying you.
To carry her everywhere.
Yeah. I was very much like, I can't carry you anymore. And it was really hard at the beginning because I couldn't say it's because I've got a baby in my tummy. Yeah. I just had to be like, oh, Mummy's a bit poorly right now, so she can't carry you.
This podcast is brought to you by the Kairos Movement.
Sound like an old wizard.
Yeah, this is a segment of the episode where we just kind of explain a little bit about why we do the show and just an encouragement to get involved. It's an ongoing conversation. We'd love to hear back from you. We don't want to be just speaking into the void. We'd love this to be, a community, whether our experiences resonate with you or if we're just weirdos. Let us know. How can people get involved, Emma?
They can either contact us on our Facebook group. Sorry. Oh, there's like pages and groups and things. It's a group, right?
There's a group,
It's a group. We also have Spotify.
Yeah, I mean, they can't contact us through that.
Yeah, you can put comments now, though.
Oh, yeah, true.
And we also have...
You can tell Emma doesn't normally do this bit. I'm like, come on, Emma.
I've also got
how do people get in touch?
I've also got baby brain. I really can't remember what it's called. The thing that I like.
The thing you like. Discord.
We also Discord, which has nobody on but me and him at the minute. So
yeah. If you want a very intimate conversation
with us, there's only us two there.
Or if you want a bigger community, our Facebook group chat.
Yeah.
We're throwing out a lot of options here, but basically go anywhere, wherever you prefer.
You'll
YouTube,
find us.
Instagram, @don'twakethebaby_podcast. But if you're going to do one thing and one thing only, what should they do? I think you should share this episode with a friend.
Yeah.
If you have a friend who's pregnant or something, I don't know, is a parent.
Yeah. Has kids.
Then send them the episode.
Go for it.
That's your one
job.
That's your homework for today. And why do we do the show? Well, we do it because it's a lot of fun. And, you know,
we enjoy it.
Yeah. And we are supported in doing it by the Methodist Church because, you know, I work for the Methodist Church. Emma volunteers. We're involved. We're involved with the Kairos movement. And, we're Christians. We're a bit wacky. We're very liberal.
Yeah.
And quite interesting. You touched on earlier about
superstitions.
Again, very interesting topic, isn't it? You could do a whole episode on that. But, yeah, how does our faith affect how we parent? Don't know. Could be interesting. Right, well, let's get back to it. That's it. If you want to find out more, have a look at our website and you can find everything there. www.kairosmovement.org.uk/
Don't wake the baby.
So the first 6 weeks of our pregnancy was quite an interesting experience.
Yeah.
To say the least. Stressful in many ways.
Yeah.
In various capacities, and we'll touch on some more than others. This is where it gets more to do with the NHS and gets a bit more personal. So initially, you found out you're pregnant, and what do you do initially?
So it depends on your trust.
Okay.
With ours, you literally go on the Harrogate Hospital website. You basically sign yourself up, you put in all your details, when was your last period, when was your positive pregnancy test, and basically your medical history, have you had a child before, was it a C-section, blah, 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 blah. So I did all that, and then they send you an email saying, great, you're on the system, you should get a letter within so many weeks about your first appointment.
Right. And our issue was, after doing all this, we were lost from the system.
Yeah.
Some reason. There was a big failing, and they never got in touch with us ever again. Basically.
But my problem was, because they said, it can be within so many weeks, I was like, well, you know, it's not past that point in weeks yet.
And we know the NHS is stretched.
And I thought maybe there's a lot of people who are pregnant at the same time and they just haven't got round to me yet.
We know the admin organisation can be a weaker point of, you know, and so we kind of just sat on it for a long time. We didn't worry particularly, and I would say we do like the NHS, but it is a shame that pretty much every time we sit down to have a conversation,
there's always been problems,
some frustration or something that's gone wrong with the NHS, and it's a shame, but it is the reality of the situation we're in. So we're not bashing them for no reason, but it didn't work. So in the end, we didn't get any contact from them until 9 weeks. Yeah. Which is way past when they should have been.
Because the problem is they have to give you an appointment for, you've got to have your blood test done before 12 weeks. You have to have your first scan at 12 weeks. And you should have those appointments at least a month in advance. Yeah. Because you need to know when to go.
Yeah. And even like the conversation with people to make sure
have the early conversation, say
whatever, folic acid or whatever.
Yeah. And you're meant to have a lot of things about like, what would you like for this pregnancy? What are you expecting? Do you have any symptoms that you don't think are normal? So you're meant to have like a talk on the phone, which we did have last time.
Yeah.
This time we had no talk.
So we ended up basically having nothing for about 12 weeks, and then suddenly everything happened at once.
And this was only because we had a bit of drama before that.
Yeah, so it must have been around 9 weeks.
Yes.
You had some bleeding?
I had some bleeding. It wasn't a lot, but it was enough every day in pregnancy to worry me.
Yeah.
And I was like, right.
It was stressful, you know.
And this system, already with the NHS, really annoyed me.
It was terrible. Terrible. I've got a note here on my notes from at the time saying the apps didn't work, the website didn't work, the password didn't work. Then you had to go through a stupid system through the doctors.
So if you're under, is it 20 weeks? Something like that. You can't just ring up the hospital and say, I need to come in.
You can't just turn up.
You have to ask the doctor to recommend to the hospital that you go in.
Yeah. And our big issue was a lot of this would have been easier if we'd had first contact and you were set up on the app. What's the app called?
Badger.
That's
or
it.
If
Badger
I had
notes.
been given a community midwife at that point, I could have
you would have a point of contact. Yeah. But at this point, we had
no contacts. We had no one to talk to.
Yeah.
And also, I was like, do you know how hard it is to get through to a doctor to say, please, can you send me a thing so I can go to hospital?
Yeah.
Like, if you're not in England right now,
yeah,
getting a doctor's appointment is impossible. So what I did in the end, I was kind of sneaky, because our doctors has an online thing and you can put in your symptoms. And I basically put in it, please refer me to this ward at the hospital. I've had some bleeding. I'm this many weeks pregnant. I don't want to have an appointment with you for you to send me there, because that's just wasting our time.
I mean, and you're having to do all this off your own back. It's difficult and stressful, on top of the fact that we're there sat worried that you've had a miscarriage.
Exactly. So then, luckily, the woman was lovely. Doctor called me up, she went, of course I will send you. And she said, why have you done this? And I said, well, it says, and she went, so that you can't call the hospital. I was like, no, I'm not allowed to call the ward. You have to send me there. And she was like, oh, and even she went, well, that seems like a ridiculous system. And I was like, it is a ridiculous system, but if you could do that. So she was very good. And I think they got us in, was it the next day?
Yeah.
So that was good. She was a good doctor. She sorted it out.
Yeah. So we went to the EPU, is that right?
Yes, Early Pregnancy Assessment Unit.
Yeah.
And that was quite stressful because... And I know why they do it. I'm not saying it's bad. But when you sit in your little seat, all around you is basically a thing about babies dying and how to deal with it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to see any of this right now. I'm hoping for very good news at this point.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I've had some bleeding, but it has stopped. I've had no further bleeding.
Yeah.
So I was feeling a bit more positive.
And then you're a very empathetic person.
Oh, yes.
So you're sat there worried about the other people in this
room.
There
was another woman in this room with a man. And I was feeling a bit more confident with myself because I was like, I know with miscarriages, normally once you start bleeding, this is a trigger warning for anybody who's gone through one, but normally it does stop and stop, but you wouldn't just stop.
Yeah.
So I just stopped after that and not had any more bleeding. So I was feeling quite reassured in myself.
Okay.
There was another woman. I thought she looked really worried, and then I was sat really worried about the other woman and her husband because I kept thinking, oh my god, I started thinking, I'm really stressed, they must be so stressed.
Yeah. But shout out to Vicky, who's a friend of ours from church and has been on the podcast before on our Christmas episode. Her and her husband were great, and they looked after Lily.
They were
during the day while we went, and so I could be with you.
And they were very nice going, oh, we've had to go, they were very good telling their stories about if they've had to go in for anything before, and
Yeah.
So they were lovely.
Yeah.
And they were lifesavers because they took Lily, so we didn't have to take her with us.
Yeah. But that was fascinating because then at the end of that, you'd had a scan and they confirmed everything was okay.
And it was nice because the other people came in smiling afterwards. And I was like, oh, thank God, they must have been okay too.
Yeah.
So me and the woman were smiling at each other because I was like, great, we both, it's gone well for both of us.
Yeah. But the lady, what is she, a midwife? The lady who was dealing with us, talking with us in the assessment unit, was looking at our notes and saying, so how far along are you? The scan says you're... Well, at this point, I think you were almost 12 weeks.
Almost 12 weeks, yeah.
And she was going,
because
when's
they
your
always
scan
add
booked?
2 weeks on if people don't know. So for us, we were kind of like 10 weeks, but it was 12 in the NHS's eyes.
And we were saying, we don't know when our scan
We don't
is.
know when our scan is. We haven't had an appointment.
Contact. And she was looking at us like, what?
And then she goes, oh, did you sign up on the system late? I said, no.
No.
I signed up as literally the day I found out I was pregnant. She's going, oh.
She was saying, there's something wrong here. This is not right. And so she, I think, contacted someone, but she told us,
you need to ring up
You need to ring up and say to them, you need to see me now.
ASAP. Because it's going to be too late to do any tests.
I mean, it did amuse me that basically it's another thing we had to do ourselves.
Yeah.
Chase them up.
She was nice because she was like, give them my name if they have you any problems. Like, if anybody says anything, give them my name and I'll tell them.
So this is when we'd had a scan on that first day. And then basically over the next week, we had scans multiple times during the week and appointments. Because suddenly you got a call back from the maternity unit.
No, so I called them up and I said to the woman, I basically said, we had bleeding, blah, blah, blah. I'm 12 weeks pregnant. And she was like, oh my goodness. And you haven't got a scan booked in. I was like, I have nothing booked in. Literally, I said, I haven't had my first phone call, haven't had anything. And she did the same thing. When did you sign up? Signed up ages ago. She's like, okay, right. She checked on the system. She could see I'd signed up ages ago. She was like, I have no idea how we've missed you. I'm so sorry. So then she was running around everywhere going, can you come in today for this? Can you come in tomorrow for that?
Because you had to have your blood test.
I had to have my blood test.
You had to have your first contact meeting.
Yeah.
And you had to have a scan.
And I had to have a community midwife appointment.
Yeah. And those all happened within days of each other. And it was backwards. So we had our first 12-week scan before we had our first contact meeting with a midwife.
And it was hilarious because it was the same sonographer who'd seen us like literally 2 days before.
Yeah.
When he had to scan to see if our baby was okay. And he saw us again and you could see his face going like... And I was going... They hadn't booked us in for anything because I could see his face going, why did they come 2 days ago? They had a scan today. And I had to be like, we weren't booked in. We've just been like, we're literally having appointment after appointment because nobody's picked us up.
They were in a panic, weren't they?
They were.
Because you'd slipped through the net and it could have been disastrous had we not come in.
Exactly.
And I think the lady you were speaking to was the head midwife.
She was furious.
She was mad.
She was just like, because I kept going, oh, well, it's probably a computer system error. She went, somebody needs to make those appointments though, so somebody has clearly...
But because she said someone must have put you in the system, but didn't click the thing to enable the things to be booked.
Yeah, so she was furious.
We got off that phone call and we were like, someone's gonna be in trouble.
Someone's gonna be in trouble. Yeah, so then we basically had a week of appointments just to get us caught up.
Yeah.
And then the stress wasn't over. So then...
before... There was another stress, wasn't there? But before that happened, you actually went for... I think this is the order it happened. Maybe you can correct me. We went for a private blood test to find out the gender.
To find out the gender.
Which is something we didn't do last time. No. Something I'd never heard of. So
I didn't know it was a thing either.
Yeah, I wonder how many of our listeners out there, if you know about this, that you can... I mean, it is private, so you have to pay for it. But... from 6 weeks, you can have a blood test to find out the gender, and it's 99.9% accurate.
Exactly. Yeah. And
we were like, why wouldn't we do this?
Yeah. And I know some people don't like to know.
Yeah. Some people, fair enough. Do what you do.
We're not like that. We like to know.
Their own. We like to know.
And once again, I especially like to know because I like to give Lily certainties as of you're having a baby sister or baby brother. Like I was like, I want it to be clear to her because last time with the NHS, we got quite late on and they were still unsure.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to end up in that situation again. I would like us to find out and know.
So there's not a lot to this story, but I found it really interesting and fascinating. Just, your blood got sent to America.
It did.
And then they come back and they tell you what gender the baby is. It's really...
And they were really sweet, the private clinic. They were like, would you like us to call you? Like, what kind of...
Yeah.
And I'm very blasé, so I was like, just email me.
Yeah, so we found out just
So she was very sweet. She was like, da-da-da-da, like, tried to write it. And we're like, it's the girl. And I was like, oh, thank you so much. Da-da-da. So yes, we had a private blood test.
Yeah, there you go.
So that was quite exciting.
Part of me thinks, why isn't this just more available on the NHS?
Well, what's more interesting, we'll come into this, but they gave me a test anyway later on that would have told us the gender.
It's just they don't test the blood for that.
No, they do. It will tell them. They just don't tell you.
Oh, right. Okay.
Because it'll be all that information in it. So anyway, we'll go into the next stressful bit.
So the next stressful bit. So you had those blood tests. And then we got the
These
result.
were NHS ones, not the private one.
Yes, there's 2 different blood tests going on here. So not the gender ones. The first ones you get in pregnancy.
And I thought it was odd because on the Badger app it hadn't updated it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, you're getting them back in like a couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
So we got a phone call, which was horrendous. But the woman, once again, this woman was excellent at her job.
Yeah. Fantastic.
We would say, in the NHS as a whole, this woman deserves a raise. She was fantastic. So she basically went, you've come back with a higher chance of Down syndrome for this child.
Yeah.
And she basically went, these are the options available.
Yeah.
Do you want to come in and talk about it? And I was like, yes.
Was that not? I thought we had to go in and talk about it.
No. She said you could have it over the phone or in person. And I said, I want to talk in person.
Yeah.
So
that was a good decision.
Was it that day she saw us?
Maybe, yeah.
I think it was that day. And she basically went through the statistics of why the blood had come back this way.
It's quite complicated.
It is.
If you've been through this before, and I know quite a few women have, it's not like really rare. You know, getting that first blood test back as a high chance of Downs does happen.
Yeah.
And there's complicated maths involved around what that means. Like the test itself is only so accurate.
Well, basically,
and then the result itself is only so accurate.
It measures certain things in your blood. So, like, I have a high hormone level, but we already knew that. But that can be a sign of Down syndrome. And this time round, I had low PAP-A, which we're going to do another episode.
We're going to do a whole
episode
on because that's a
separate thing that needs its own thing. But basically, those things together can mean
it's an indicator.
It's an indicator, so it's
but
not.
Not the blood test wasn't a direct test for Downs, which is then what we went on to do. And I know like there's different decisions to make here, isn't there? Some people just say we won't do anything. We won't do anything. We'll just wait and see.
The way she explained it to us, I think we were like 1 in 85 or something chance of it happening. But she said most people, which is what we did, go on to have an NPIT test, NPIT.
I don't know. Sure.
Which is actually like testing if there's anything in the blood which would show it actually was Down syndrome.
Yes. She
said some people with those results, because it's still quite low, wouldn't bother.
Yeah.
Some people immediately go for a... Is it called CV? It's like where they test the amniotic fluid around the baby.
Yeah.
But for me, that's still quite risky.
It's more invasive, isn't it? And
I know it's only got 1% chance of miscarriage, but for me, I was like...
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'd risk that at that stage.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we didn't get to that stage.
We didn't, no.
You know, but I mean, having come off the back of the last stress to then suddenly be plunged into this new stress of, you know, the difficult conversations about, you know, will our child have Down syndrome? Yeah. That is a difficult kind of thing to talk about. And
would we be willing to kind of, how would we deal with that?
Yeah,
basically,
how would we deal with
in
that?
The grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
But she was great.
She was really good.
She explained how blood works. She even was really good and brought up my last blood work.
I think that was the most helpful thing, because we actually saw that your hormone levels and things, I can't remember what they were. There were 3 different things, weren't they, that it measured.
And it was only 2 of them were abnormal.
Weren't far off what you were in your last pregnancy. Yeah, it's just this one tipped the scale enough. Yeah. That it
and also your age plays a factor. So because I was slightly older, it automatically would come back with a higher result.
Yeah.
But she was really good at explaining it all and making you much calmer about the whole process.
Yeah.
So we loved her. She was excellent.
Yeah. So then you had your blood taken.
Yeah.
And what really amused me is we had to go and post it ourselves. We had to take it to a post box, a priority post box, and with a vial of your blood, and send it off to be tested. I was like, surely the NHS could do.
And I kind of got it, because I was like, they're so busy. That's going to waste one person's time taking one package over there, and it's really key you do it at the right time.
Yeah, I suppose it's urgent, isn't it? Yeah.
But it did seem weird. So I was like, I'm carrying a vial of my own blood in this little box, and we have to send this to another hospital to get it checked. And that was a horrendous wait. Because, of course, even though I've been told it's a low chance.
Yeah, it's like, was it 2 weeks, I think?
Ours was a lot quicker, so it can be 2 weeks. I think ours was
just over a week?
Just over a week, like one day.
But waiting in that time, not knowing.
So my way of coping, A lot of people say, did you turn to God? No. I turned to a video game called Animal Crossing that I hadn't bought yet. But I remember thinking, I need something to keep my mind off worrying.
Yes. I'd forgotten about this. I had to bite my tongue because it was a very expensive
it's like £60
video game. But I was like, it's what Emma needs right now.
It's what I need right now. So I bought it. And that's what got me through the waiting. Anytime I was nervous, I was like, I'm just going to put Animal Crossing on and just do something with my little character. So yeah, that honestly, if you're going through a tough time and video games help, you play those video games.
I mean, you work in the industry, so of course you're a big advocate. But you know,
I'm just saying,
all about
whatever works for you.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I wasn't praying every day, but I'm also saying video games also helped.
Yeah.
It wasn't like my one thing.
I think for me, again, we're going a bit deeper here spiritually, I suppose, but I don't know whether I'm just quite relaxed, at peace, or have a faith, or whether it's just because I'm a broken human being. But you know, I don't really feel things in the same way other people feel things. True. So
you're quite muted.
I'm quite happy to. You know, it was stressful. It was what I was particularly stressed about. You're more stressed about
me being stressed.
But for me, the whole situation, you know, I just have an ethos of what will be, will be.
Yeah,
and
true.
I know we will make decisions at some point regarding outcomes, and you know, the waiting and the not knowing.
Yeah,
I can cope with.
Whereas I couldn't cope with that, but I think that's because I'm quite a proactive person.
Yeah.
Like I like this. Elliot knows this from life. I'm not patient. I like to get things done.
No.
I like to be organised.
A word you cannot describe Emma is patient.
No. It's when Lily's not patient. But you are,
well, I don't know. I was going to say, are you decisive? But I don't know if you're a decisive person. It's just, you don't cope with uncertainty.
No, I just like to know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Regardless.
Yeah.
So I didn't deal well with not knowing.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't really. It's just, I can exist in that place.
Yes.
I can take every day as it comes.
Yeah.
I like to know what I'm doing, but it doesn't stress me out as much.
Yeah. But was great at this time. I joined a Low Pap A forum on Facebook. And it was great because so many people in the group had to go through this test. And most people had come back negative. So I was like,
it is a different thing, but it's highly interconnected with Downs. Like the Pap A thing is its own thing.
But a lot of people, it's kind of, you get a false positive early on. That was a horrendous wait. And then I remember we got a call just before we were doing morning prayer.
Yeah.
And Elliot was like, what are you doing answering your phone? I was like, it's the hospital. I have to answer.
About to go live on Facebook. But then, you know, it was a very quick phone call. And it was just
being like, it's all good news.
It's all clear.
You're fine. She's like, at this point, you don't need any more tests because...
and there is, you know, like... what's it called? There's never 100% certainty, and we still have the Pap A thing with us, and this is why we're not going into a lot of that in depth now, because we're still in pregnancy.
Well, we'll see what the journey takes us.
You know,
But it's that test that could have told us the gender, but they don't.
Right. Okay.
But in other trusts, they do.
Right.
So some people I know taking the test, they did get told the gender.
Right. Any advice or anything? Other people going through this journey?
I would say don't worry, but I think it's inevitable. Or the worst thing to do, which I knew, was to stress, because I was like, that's just not good for the baby. Yeah. It's not good for me. And that's when I was like, I need a good distraction. But I also was really think that I tried not to watch any media with babies in.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, the Big Bang Theory, I had to stop before Bernadette got pregnant.
Yeah.
Like, I had to be very mindful of being like, well, that might have something that upsets me. So let's only look at things. Suddenly
being very aware of all the triggers.
Yeah. And I thought it must be so hard if you do go through something, because it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah. And we had to call a lot of stuff off. Like, there were things we did because and it was difficult because people didn't know we were pregnant. We didn't really want to tell people, yet we were going through this.
Yeah, true.
And so I had to be a little sensitive with some meetings and things, some stuff we were doing together where I was like, I'm sorry, we can't do this anymore because we're struggling at the moment. We're going through something personal and, you know, we're not able to do that right now. We were going to
just not to commit to things.
We were going to do a podcast episode with a guest, and we had to call that off because we were not in the mindset to be able to record at that stage. It was just very difficult for us. And just being able to go through life and not really be able to tell people and talk to people.
But I want to say, so touch wood, after that point, our pregnancy's gone very smooth.
Yeah, it's since then it's got better. Like we say, we've
fine.
managed to get nursery stuff back on track, and so it's taken the pressure off us a little bit, and like the health stuff's gone smoother. You've coped better. The other thing you did during this time was you took your driving test.
I did. Just to add to my stress.
Yeah. What fun.
I did pass, but I also threw up straight after. I stopped in the driving test and I was like, I'm so sorry, can I just get out of the car for a second? And the woman was like, yeah, that's fine. Got out, threw up. And she went, oh, is it nerves? I know people get so nervous. And I was like, no, I'm pregnant. And she was like, oh my goodness.
And then, of course, you've passed your driving test, but now you're heavily pregnant. And so not driving.
Yeah.
A lot of good. It's probably likely going to be quite a while until you're driving again.
Because I'll have a C-section this time.
Forgotten everything. So
yeah, I said I'm going to have little lessons again, I think.
Sounds perfect.
But at least I passed.
Yeah. Another complaint from me while we're on a list of complaints. Moaning from Baba over here.
Is it about me?
Yes, it is about you. That is right. Someone had been stealing my pants.
Oh, yeah.
To name names, it's the woman sat opposite me.
Yeah. It's well known I already steal his socks. He just one morning went, so I see we're now sharing all our underwear. And I was like,
You're like, mine don't fit me anymore.
Mine don't fit me anymore. And they're not very comfortable.
Yeah.
So then we had to go to Primark and buy.
So we've bought Emma new man's pants.
Yeah, loads of boxes because they're so comfortable.
So theoretically, no longer stealing my pants. Although I do occasionally notice.
Unless I run out.
Yeah. Oh dear. There we go.
It's true.
Thank you so much for joining us in the blanket fort today.
Yeah.
You have successfully reached the end of the episode.
Woohoo!
Well done. Gold star. I hope you've enjoyed this this one.
It's a bit more stressful. If you found it stressful, I apologise.
I'm sorry if it's stressful.
I want to encourage you. The rest of our pregnancy's gone really, really calm.
I mean, we always, we like to share the honest reality of parenthood, and this is a story that we felt like was important to kind of highlight. And you see, no, you don't see us.
You listen to us. Hear us.
Smell you next time. God bless. Sleep well.
Yeah. Don't wake the baby.